So, Entrepreneur Expat says LA is sadly a mess right now.
I also think that most of the planet is kind of a mess right now. I think most of our country is kind of a mess right now. I think there's a lot of messes right now. Welcome to another episode of The Life We Create. I am Cobain Rivers.
And I'm Taylor Joy Stevens.
And welcome back.
Thanks for being here.
Another day, another dollar, another moment in time. Last week we kind of talked about the death of Hollywood and how creators were leaving Los Angeles. It was based on an LA Times article that we came across, and that episode sparked something with you guys. There's a lot of participation on the commentary.
Things
all
were
across
percolating.
the social media.
Engagement,
a lot of engagement.
galore.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed a lot of the comments, the perspectives.
Yeah.
And so that inspired this week's episode, which was, or is, it's about us responding to those comments.
Yeah, you had a lot of good things to say. We appreciate the participation in conversation. And it was just cool to have that dialogue. And so we're going to continue the dialogue here.
Absolutely. All right. So let's get right into it. Waste no time.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you haven't watched our previous episode, pause this and run it back to that one so you can understand what's going on in this one. Okay. So Sin Davi, I hope I didn't butcher that, 6655, said, "The future has never been guaranteed for anything or anyone. But as long as we have a civilization in the U.S. or anywhere, there will always be a place for entertainment and entertainers. Be well." Yeah?
Thanks, Sindavi. You be well as well.
Yeah.
I'll let you kind of start because you had the thought running there.
Did I?
Well, I think I cut you off when I said be well to Sindavi as well. So I feel
okay.
like you were about to let it go.
Yes. I loved this. I loved the perspective, and yes, the future is never guaranteed. And yeah, there's just a lot of awakening going on right now. A lot of awareness. And I just love that, there's this hope that there will always, as long as there's humans, there will always be entertainment, because that's how we have thrived and evolved since the beginning of our species.
Yeah.
It's a way for us to learn, to engage, to think creatively for solutions, especially during a time of change. So I really appreciated the perspective, and thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a great perspective to have. Entertainment will always be here. You go back to Roman times and we were fighting in Colosseums. You go back to caveman days and I don't know what they were doing.
Hieroglyphics.
Well, that's Egyptian, yeah.
Yeah, I think cavemen too.
Yeah.
Drawing to communicate.
Yeah, so you have all these periods of time where people are working to entertain others and themselves, and so I don't think that will ever change.
Yeah.
It is forever. And so I do think in this time of change in the entertainment industry, while there is a lot of concern and a lot of stress around how that will affect individuals, I do think it is something for many of us to look at and say that no matter what happens, there will always be entertainment that will follow this. And I agree.
Yep. There's always opportunity for sure. All right. Moving on. So Entrepreneur Expat says, LA is sadly a mess right now. We get asked about safety in Mexico, and we feel safer in Mexico than we did in LA last year. As for cost of living, we're renting a massive house with home offices for both of us for less than $1,000 a month. We're also seeing a lot of creatives and people from California moving to Mexico to be digital nomads.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of truth in that comment. I also think that most of the planet is kind of a mess right now. I think most of our country is kind of a mess right now. I think there's a lot of messes right now. For me personally, I adore Los Angeles. I love being here. I love what my life looks like and the opportunities that I get and what my day-to-day is. I do understand, though, that it is a very expensive place to live. It's a very expensive place to exist. Everywhere kind of is, and this place has always been one of the most expensive, and that hasn't changed. I do recognize that a lot of people move to Los Angeles because they are doing it for work, for an industry that is thriving here, and for so long you've been told you have to be here to do that thing. And so I think it's amazing that things are expanding in a way where people don't have to be here that don't want to be here. Where people can be where they want to be, they can focus on developing the quality of life that they want and the opportunities that they want in a city that is more connected to who they are.
Yeah.
Love it. And I hope that that continues to expand and grow. Being able to have a large house with offices for both people and spend less than $1,000 is an amazing thing. that is a fantastic thing. It's something that I haven't been able to experience in over a decade. So amazing. And so I think that is something that people have to recognize when they're figuring out what they want for their life. And you got to look at all aspects of it. And it's okay to go to a place and do it and decide, I need to be somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
We get to be these digital nomads. We get to move across the world and see things. While I do love LA, am I going to live here forever? Maybe not, because there's so much more world to see. I was born in New York. I lived in Kentucky. Who knows where I go next? But the world we live in is allowing for that more. And then just to touch on the safety thing, I think that's all perspective for people. Like I said, I've lived in multiple other places. I feel safer in Los Angeles than I did in Kentucky. I think there are some factors for me that are different for you, or they're different for Taylor. I know that living in many places as a woman is much different than living in a place as a male. And especially me as a black male, like, I think a city like this where there are so many different types of people, I just ultimately feel safer than I did in a place where there were like two types of people. So I think safety is a perspective. I went to Mexico City recently, Taylor and I did, and that was just Mexican LA to me. It felt the same, and it was cool. And so and I've been in Mexico a couple other times outside of that in different places, and I've never not felt safe either. So I think it's all about perspective in the person, because the safety issue is a thing everywhere. And then in a place like LA where there's over 50 million people in a smaller space like this, and it's not, it's a large space, but 50 million people in one city is a lot. You're bound to have bad people, and you're bound to have a decent amount of them out of 50 million. So it is what it is there, because you've got bad people here, but you got bad things that happen everywhere. And you got some bad things that happen in more rural places more frequently than that happen in this larger city. So I think it's just perspective and what you feel safe in. If you don't feel safe here, or you don't feel safe where you are, you deserve to be somewhere you feel safe.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, in terms of like the messiness of LA, for me, I feel like that relates to like post-strike cleanup and like recovery. Because it has really hit, the industry and creatives really hard. I know some people this year, like, they're not taking any vacations because like that they normally would take, because they're still trying to recover from like the financial hit of the strikes. Still, a lot of people are still out of jobs and unemployed.
And that's in many industries. I mean, tech has taken a really big hit, and there's a lot of people that were thriving in tech that are now, trying to survive because it took such a big hit.
And I know vacations are like more of a luxury, but like just lifestyle
But they
has
shouldn't
taken a
be.
hit. Yeah, they shouldn't
Your
be.
vacation shouldn't be a luxury. If you work hard, you deserve a fucking break.
Totally. Totally. Give us a vacation.
And even if you don't work hard, you still deserve a break. I don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
vacations are important.
We should just be able to exist as we please. But yeah, I also love the, you know, if you had to reassess and reevaluate and you decided, you know, you don't want to live in LA anymore, there are so many places you can go. There's so many places you can, you know, like they're saying, be digital nomads, or even just have a thriving online business and do things more for yourself. And maybe you didn't have a thought for that before.
Right.
So the world and our minds, I think, are expanding. I think even with some of the disillusionment that's happened in LA and Hollywood and across industries, people are still finding creative ways and finding the life that they want to create outside of the original boxes.
Yeah. I would say that at the end of the day, you got to recognize that your locale can't snuff out your creativity. That is your power. That is your right, and you can be wherever you want to be and still be creative and create the life that will make you happy ultimately.
Yeah. And like you said, it's you know, perspective on a lot of it. Like if you don't think there are opportunities for where you're at anymore, like you're probably right. If you think there are opportunities for you, then you're probably right. Like, I think a lot of it is also mindset, and using your skill set in a way that you didn't think to before. And, in terms of being a woman, I definitely feel safe in California when it comes to the country. I know there's a lot going on with political stuff, so we won't get too into it, but I do feel safe here. So, and like my rights are protected. Yay. Okay. So JK Free 8741 says, it is nice to put such positive content out there about a situation that I'm sure has a lot of creative people scared. You are a great pair, each complementing the other. May your site take flight. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's nice. A nice comment.
Yeah, it is a nice comment. Nice comment of support.
Yeah.
So we're grateful for that. And we're also really happy that like you get the vision and like you see what we're doing here in, you know, seeing things with an open mind, encouraging creativity, finding the silver lining, instilling hope, and empowering you to ultimately be creative in your life. Yeah.
I really love this comment. I think every creator of any kind is very grateful when someone sees what they're doing and they understand, and they promote you to do it more, or they give you that positive kudos. So I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah.
As far as our chemistry, Taylor and I have been together for 7 years. We've been friends for 10 years. And our relationship, like our friendship, began out of a space of creativity.
Yeah.
So there's just been a lot of feeling like we were on the same wavelength for a really long time. And being on this podcast together has helped us continue to hone that in. So we're really excited that comes across that way.
Yeah. Not something we expected for people to comment on. At least I didn't, really. I don't know.
I assumed they would. I mean, people in like real life often talk about how well we work together.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not surprised by it, but I do appreciate it, no matter whether I'm surprised or not. Much appreciated. And as far as our perspective, I think we wanted to come from a place of positivity. I think when you think about what's happening in the industry and how, you know, jobs are kind of going for people and how things are expanding, but people don't feel like they're getting more opportunities, I think it is stressful, and I think it is a tough period for a lot of working individuals.
Oh yeah. Tough job market in general.
Yeah, all around. And so I think people identify with what's happening in Hollywood because it's happening everywhere, and people are having to pivot and figure out something different. And I loved reading a story about that focused on how people have pivoted and are surviving and now thriving in different ways.
Yeah.
And that was something I really enjoyed from that article. And so I'm glad that came across in the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were inspired, so it was easy to take that inspiration into what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. And I think, just to add to that, I went through a big pivot a few years ago when I was diagnosed with this crazy heart condition that I didn't know about. And so it really changed my perspective on a lot of what I was doing, what my life was. Yeah. And, I had to make a pivot in a way that serve my life going forward. And I see other people doing that regularly. And so I want to take every opportunity I can to highlight individuals that do that, because I think it's such a strong skill that humans have in being able to persevere through tough times. And there's a book that I would love to recommend if you have the time to read it for people in general. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's really just about how no matter what you put humans into, we find ways to persevere.
Yeah.
We keep going.
Yep. Yeah. Take the pandemic, for example.
We
evolved through that.
Great Depression, take 9/11 for Americans. You take so many wars that have happened across the planet. People find a way to keep going.
Yep. All right. So, Odd to the Pod. Shout out
to the homie.
It's the studio's fault, really. They're moving everything out of state or out of country. To be fair, if California had better tax incentives, they might keep some production in-house. But this is what I heard from a studio exec. They think it's cheaper filming elsewhere.
I say facts.
Truth.
Facts from the beginning to the end. I do think it's the studio's fault, and I think it's also California's fault. I think so many other cities and states are providing tax breaks that are competitive and that are bringing productions there.
Yep.
And I'll say this until the cows come home, the studios and the entertainment industry as a whole, it's an industry. So it is a business, and the goal is to make money. I know it's profiting off creativity, and we as creatives want to think, oh, it's our art and creativity that makes this thing run and all that. That plays a big part of it, but it's a business at the end of the day. And they're going to try to figure out the best ways for them to make money.
Yeah, and save money.
And so moving somewhere else and doing things elsewhere because that's where the money is, it is the most sensible thing I could think of in a business. Are people affected by it? 100%. People are always going to be affected by things like this.
Yeah.
But it is an industry run by businesses, and so it is the business's fault that they're out there, that they're moving on into these different spaces. And it sucks that we have to adjust and pivot our lives, but that again is the human experience. Life is always ever changing, and that's one of the hardest things for us as humans to deal with is the constant changing of existence. But it's happening, and so you either move with it or you don't.
Yeah, it's definitely a part of like Hollywood expanding, and it's very twofold. Like it allows creatives in other parts of the country or world to have these creative jobs, and then bring money into the economy of where they're planning to film, but then it also takes jobs away from the people in California that are creatives. So it's like, bottom line is definitely overall what studios are thinking of. And we also experienced this firsthand with filming in Mexico, and how wild it was that a huge production was a lot cheaper to pay people than having like a unionized production here in Los Angeles. It was cheaper to fly talent out, put them up in the Four Seasons, have a per diem, and get paid over like keeping the commercial local in Los Angeles.
Yeah, because the production company was from Los Angeles.
And half of it is in Mexico. They have a hub in Mexico.
But the hub they have in Mexico is because of so many factors that Hollywood is currently dealing with. They recognized it was cheaper to do that, and so
so they have a crew down there.
Yeah, so they have their own. They have a crew that they work with consistently down there. There was such a pivot that they made earlier on in the creation of their production company to recognize this is how we save money.
Yep. And be a really good, viable option. Yeah. So, yeah, that was really interesting. Interesting experience.
Yeah.
For sure. So, yeah, we agree. We agree, Audrey.
Yeah. All right. So, what's the next comment we've got?
Yeah. So, J Giraffe 95. Can anything be done to fix it? As someone who can do camera work, is there opportunity for us as well?
I think I would say it really depends on what you mean by fix it. I think where the industry is as a whole, I don't think there's a fixing. I think we're in a transitional evolution period, and there will be sort of a new way of doing things going forward, and how the industry looks. I think today, they announced that SAG-AFTRA is going on strike for the video game, against the video game industry. So we're in this period of time where I think there is going to be a lot of back and forth between creatives and the companies. And the only way really to, I think, work your way through that is, as a creator, you find your team and the people that you're able to create with, and you do that. But I also think that you look outside of just the entertainment industry. Marketing agencies right now are really popular with a lot of editors and cinematographers, because it's consistent work. Marketing's not going away anytime soon. Is the pay as good as it may be on a set? It really depends on the gig. But it was like that in the entertainment, in Hollywood. It was like that. It just depended where you were at. Yeah. So I would say expand your thought process beyond entertainment. Your skill set as a camera op is useful in so many different industries. Sports, it's useful, and marketing, like I said, it's useful. The corporate environment, there's so many gigs for camera ops to be able to help with doing training videos. And I know this doesn't sound glamorous, and that's why I said build your creative team and let that be your creative outlet. I think if you're looking for a career and job in this field, you have to expand beyond the thought process of just doing it on sets.
Yeah.
And with that, have a wonderful weekend. We look forward to seeing you next week.